Beautiful ignited souls. Thank you for joining me, Cry Me Queen, here on this beautiful day, night, whatever it is, but it's like, oh, perhaps about 2 a.m. in the morning where I'm at. I'm in the UK. Now, wherever you are joining me, it's that we are one. So I like to say ignited souls or united souls, like the US. So welcome on board, united souls, because we are on this us ship, like a friendship, like relationship. So speaking of relationships, we are going to touch on sexual trauma. Now, we all know whether you have been through sexual trauma, direct or indirect, that this is one of the most traumatic experiences one can have. And I have done 2 videos so far, and this is going to be like a mini series. I think it's going to be a mini series of sexual trauma and sexual healing, but it's really with the focus of how we can cultivate the art of self-full love. I call it self-full love because this derived on my journey of publication of the Crimson Light, which I can't really get the copy right now, but it's through my own journey of healing through sexual trauma. And of course, I have been touching on this to really break down the numerical construct of sexual trauma so we can see how that relate to the gods, because we have had in our minds or condition or way of speaking that God is just like this entity in the sky or way up in the heavens, and that we are very detached from, and especially where the Bible is concerned, we don't see God as having anything like what we may call negative connotations or meaning, even though we see that the God of the Old Testament was like a terrible God, and the scriptures, we would say, tells you this, and uses the word terrible as well in describing God. So we see, for instance, God equals 8, and 8 is a set. Now, I have done a lot of videos to show how God is a set here, and we see in that set, we see like Cain and Abel, Joseph and his brothers, or Esau, and there's always like two. So that tells us that there is a construct that happens as having male, female, or masculine, feminine, or always two that creates the God that we are talking about. So there is a pattern I have noticed in the scriptures as well. Always when we refer, you see He as in God, He is like 13, as well as, let's turn this somewhat. The description of He as where we speak of Christ and the 12 disciples. 13 comes like in a lot of different ways, but we see that 12, like the 13, the number of death. So we have seen how that has shaped our thinking. Now also, to confirm this, as we say, 2 TWO is actually 13. So here we see that different pairs, or he or two, is still in correlation. Like trauma now, we see trauma is actually 2, although I've done a lot in breaking down trauma as in 20, and 20 also equals 8. We have also seen as a set. So we see trauma as a set of zeros, 2 zeros, or you could see it this way. This is 8. And so this is like when the cell splits. This is what we see. In fact, I've been watching Black often, and you see, even that in scientific experiments, we see how the cell splits, and that is the God right there, because that God is actually taking on an energy and it's showing its ability to create. That's what creation is about. So we have also noticed that, of course, in the created God, which is created, that created God, the verbatim gods, which is one of the 14 verbatim gods, this in Genesis of chapter 1 and 2, equals 11. Again, I have seen so many correlations with this series that I have been watching on Netflix, which shows this 11. I saw them on in the cafe, and they really put a lot of this truth there for us. When you're watching a movie, for instance, sometimes we just listen to things that are said or we see someone move, but oftentimes it may be about someone just tapping maybe a few times on the cup or showing you the energy on the cup, because that's why it's so expensive to do a movie, because they are ensuring that all the energetic vibration is in place to coincide with the message that they want to send. So here we have sexual trauma, and let's to put it in short. So we could say, because 10, I have begun doing this. 10, I count 10 or 11 just as 10 and 11 when I am doing a lot of the numerical values. I'm trying to get rid of the light. Let's just the glare. Okay. Oh, I think it's the way this is. Okay, so and so I will be adding this. Okay, we could say that this is 12. Now, of course, I did a lot on 12 showing. Let's cross this out. This would be 2. 2 plus 10 is 12. So this is how we have 12. Okay, 12 here. Now, 1 plus 2 is free. So we are looking at sexual trauma as free. Now, I want to point out that I have done a lot of videos on Genesis of chapter 1, verse 3. This is where it was said, let there be light. In let there be light. I'm trying to avoid the glare. So, and this is 1 1 1 7 1 1, and that is 12. So we can see here that sexual trauma has been as adding up to 12 before even having a single digit is really saying, let there be light. Now, sexual trauma is not an may not be the thing we want to describe as light, but light is showing that there is a form of life. It's another word for life, although, or for movement, or for something that is happening. Now, when we use the word light, we could shed light on something that is not very pleasant, but light is about bringing something to the surface, bringing a sort of revelation to the surface, bringing something into realization. And that sexual trauma, which we see actually equals 12 letters, because this is 6 and this is 6. It's not by chance that these words are used to describe an impact or something that happens to someone, to explain the enormous impact that it has. So it is saying here that this is on a direct spectrum, or on, so here for instance, if this was let's just have it like this. If this was life and this is dark hair, so we'll just use this, and this is the trauma, and of course and this is light. So all hair, for instance, is showing this is trauma. Let there be trauma, but it's on the it's on that spectrum, and we want to get healing here. Now, I'm not sure I have really conveyed that in the way I wanted to, but let's look at this here. We are saying consolidating this, which is 12 letters. So we have 12 letters, which is coinciding with the 12 numerical values here. Let there be light, and there was light. So this would be 12 here, and let there be healing on the other end, which is what we want. Okay, but and so this is like it's on the spectrum of life, but it's on a dark end, is what we want to say. Okay, now another thing I wanted to point out, let there be life is let there be light, which coincides with 6 letters or 12 letters. Of course, we have 6. The number 6 is actually just like Genesis. And so we are from by Genesis. So do forgive me with my trail of thought, like Genesis. So we have here, this equals 33. 3 plus 3 is 6. Now, here we see why it is 6, because it is said as well, 6 is the number of man. We see sexual and trauma here as well. So we have 6 here, we have 6 there. This is permitting the individual chance of, or it's actually saying this is creation, but there is a seed of the ability to heal and get that sense of wholeness. But here we see it is requiring you to die, especially with 20, which is which coincides, because trauma, which coincides with the word death, death, or road. We've done this, or south and down. So everything that is like heavy, we could say, it's like trauma has that correlation here, like 2, well, like we did in the start of this presentation. We have 2 trauma, which is associated with 13. So we can see, of course, 13, I call it the incubator. So that's like a tube. Okay. So I thought I would just touch on that to really show how this is not by chance that the verbatim God named Set is actually 1 plus 5 plus 2. I'm also thinking that this is why we have like 8, which is a strong number, because it actually is like strength with 8, because it can, you go round and round and round, you can go round with this, which equals 8. But it's like a test, TES. Now, because of course of how this is written, but we could still say it is a test. That's what a set is. It tests you. And that's what we who have been traumatized, because you can see here as well, 20, actually, the word 20, which coincides with this 2 I'm talking about. Excuse the writing, it's also 8. This gives us 8 because it comes to 26. 2 plus 6 is 8. And that is why we can see the robustness of 8, which is what caused the fall of man, like we have learned, because here they ate. Adam and Eve, they ate. They eat. And of course, EAT or TEA. Now, this is showing 3 different ways we can relate to this 8, which is a set. So, 2 people eat, or they ate, or had tea. And that's why we see how we are so engaged with tea or eating as rituals. The other thing I wanted to note here, the other correlation to show that when someone is sexually traumatized, it is so important to get that full sense of healing, in fact, to be healed. Otherwise, they pass on that trauma and they create exactly after their kind, because of course 20, as we have seen, is 8, and this is the cell that is, because it's a cell, that's the cell that is going to split and reform to zeros. That's what it's about here. And so it is so important that you find your sexual healing, which you will hear that people have to go in therapy for many years or counseling and do all kinds of things, because this form of trauma, it goes so deep within the human psyche, within the soul, within everything, because that's why it is a god unto itself. It is a god, which is 764, and it's 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. This is the same correlation that was required from Abraham to have the same numerical vibration that created the 12 tribes of Israel, that created a people, that created Moses traveling or releasing the children from bondage to another. And so this is breaking of that 8. They had to split, they had to cross the Red Sea, and all of those things which we could do things on, because I think Red Sea is actually red is 9 and SEA, let's see, SEA, this is 7. So 7 plus 9 is 16. 7. So this is the whole number of creation, 6 days of creation, including the day of rest. Okay, but Abram was 8, and if also you did Abraham as when his name was changed, was also 8. The other thing that correlated here was Sarah. It's like Sarah before let's see, Sarah, before her name was changed, Sarah, I think became 20. And this is why it was difficult for Sarah to, although it was promise of her, that I'm talking about the Bible, of course. Let's just check this, 9, 9, 18, 19, 20. So Sarah was also 20. And we could see why there was so much happening with Sarah, of course. Her name being changed to 20, had to find that same correlation as her husband, who was 8. So 8 plus 8 as in 20, however, that's where they kind of met or correlate, but it wasn't just straightforward like in Haggai, where Haggai actually I think was 8. That's the one Abraham had the first son with, which was Ishmael, I think. So here we are talking that 8 has to, when the two eights get together, it's like there's a set, and that set creates, but it creates after its kind. Everything is creating after its kind. So when you have trauma, and you can see, of course, Isaac, who was born through, you could say, trauma of Sarah, didn't he go through some trauma to be sacrificed or be laid on an altar to be sacrificed by his father? Again, offering blood or to be burnt. or to be slain and burned. And so this is what the trauma is about. And it is so important that healing is that one heals from this trauma, because then otherwise you are creating after your kind. And of course, with that story, is it Isaac? Well, with Isaac, but we see that with the tribes of, I'm trying to, with the tribes of Israel, there was always confusion and battle, and it's trauma, always having to fight from this trauma. And so it's important we understand the impact of this behavior and to heal ourselves and to bring, evolve into healthier beings, which we are designed to do and to create. And just to complete on that line that I wanted to share, like in Genesis of chapter 1 verse, this is Genesis, which is 33, and verse 3. So this is what happens when you see 333. There is it's asking for you to create. It is being to, you are asked to be very creative. This is going to cause like a major impact on you creating to find that order W, another part of you, to where you may have to break free to find that other part. Hence 8 is also the construct of two threes looking at each other, you could say, like mirroring each other. Okay, so this may be a little bit, I don't want it being too confusing for people who are just beginning in this numerology. And here I tend to break down the construct of this wisdom, because there is so much more to all the letters that we have been given than we think. For instance, S, when we see S, we know that we are dealing with the serpent right here and with wisdom. That is where there is movement. We see E, which represents the key or 5 for Eve, and so on. So there we are talking about sexual trauma. So to have more clarity on this, we see that sexual trauma actually is free. It's free. It is free in the sense that it's just as the word free, you could say, because we have been misusing that word free. When we say free, we think of someone is even free, which I'm going to do a video on. We tend to think that that is like a freedom. No, it means like it's the number 7. It is like a complete set. Something is already created and God rested on the 7th day. So that is free in that sense. That does not have to be created again to get the same result that we have here. So to get the same result, hence we have a set. It comes in a set looking like 8, and then we have to break it. Just that, like Abraham broke the tablet. Not Abraham, Moses, I mean, broke the tablet. So he broke. We see it's the first letter is very indicative of what follows on. So Abraham broke. Abraham burned, Moses broke, Ezekiel built, he was asked to build the bones, another one burned. It's always about burn, build, or break, or and that kind of thing. Okay, so back to 3. So to see how this also correlates with the God of the set God, the verbatim God of settings. The verbatim god of setting actually comes in the number 8 of the gods as well. It's the 8th, meaning that it's already stating that there is a set in itself, as it were two knots. Two knots we have seen as in NOT actually is 13. 1 plus 3, which is 2 knots, another 3, this is 26, and 26 is also 8. So we have seen that works in this way to show us the robustness of a set. When there is a set, unless it's broken, you cannot find that healing. And that's what we are seeing here with so many correlations happening here with a creation. You are creating a people after its kind. It's like I come from a lineage of incest, and perhaps not all my siblings have been, I don't know for sure, sexually damaged, if you like, or interfered with, which I feel that there is a much larger number than coming from a family of 14. But it's that it permeates from generation to generation, and that's why I am on this mission to break the set, to recreate, to reinvent. And again, so here, when we speak of 3, THREE, this comes to 28955. Adding this together is 29. 2 plus 9, that's 10, 10. 2 plus 9 is 11. And that's how it encapsulates the 14 gods right here. 1, 1 is 1 and 1. Each is 7 plus 7. And that's what we mean. 1 becomes free, as we have done, FREE. This is it here. But you need to be whole. It's that merging into your Christ spirit, which is 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. This is where you need to achieve your Christ spirit for wholeness. And of course, Christ is not in the terms like we speak of, or for many people. Of course, if it means that way to you, that's okay. But this change, this happens in your physiology, in your spirituality, and your emotion. This happens here. You change your house. You find your key. And so I'm going to end here on this, and I wanted to share another experience with you, and so you can understand how the journey of healing happens when one has become sexually abused. So do join me again when we delve more into this subject of sexual trauma and sexual healing. So thank you very much. And I really wanted to say more. Yes, I think I needed to say as well, to see that, that on another correlation that happens is where in the scriptures, and I think it's on verse 12, I'm going to have a look, where it is said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And in this text, let us make man, I just wanted to say, I feel it correlates with 12, the verse 12 as well. Okay, on 12 here, it's the earth brought forth grass and herb and yielding after its kind. So anything that happens around 12 here, it happens after its kind. And hence, of course, in Proverbs, the writer also describes human even as grass. Human, he's here today and gone tomorrow as grass. So here we have So the earth was born. The earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was good. So basically, whatever happens in that parameters of 12, that's 12 like the zodiac sign, like the months of the year, 12 months of the year, or 12 hours of the day, or whatever you get 12 at, the 12 tribes, that is it. So we need to reinvent, recreate, and so we can create after our kind, because creating after sexual trauma is the seed of bringing forth fruit after its kind. Do join me again when we further explore sexual trauma and sexual healing. Thank you.